Welcome back to the REI Rocks Review. It is Friday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, and that's where you'll find us on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, even on Twitter. We're not on Threads. It's not a thing yet, but maybe that'll be something soon. But we're joined with Frank Padalano. Frank, how you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, but this is the REI Rocks Review. Angel Williams and Jason Williams are here today as usual. Angel, do you want to give some insight on what we're doing?
Absolutely. So basically what we do is we take one of our past summit sessions, and my screen is going crazy behind me, sorry. and we break it down. So we're going to help you figure out how to break down sessions just like you would if you were in a class. It's really hard when you're in a class, you're trying to take notes because everything's important. Well, not everything is important, even though it sounds really amazing. So we're going to help you break it down and find the actionable steps that you could use to move the needle.
All right, excellent stuff. And we're here with Jason. Now, Jason, he's an engineer, and the two of us, we do put in a lot of effort to mental gymnastics, and that's the reason why these presentations are done at 1.5 times speed. So it's not your internet connection once we start reviewing it, but the presentation we're going to be reviewing is Frank's one with his partner Pedro in the VA business. But Frank is a partner of ours with the commercial properties in Wichita Falls, Texas. Jason, do you want to say a thing or two about how you met Frank and how awesome he is? Because that's nice, right?
I met Frank for the first time BEC 2020 in Denver, but Angel had already had a relationship with Frank. Not that kind, but had known Frank because they were both teachers, and that they like to talk in the middle of the night complaining about admin and stuff like that, stuff that I wouldn't know about. So
We talked shop about education.
So that's code for he listened to me whine and complain about having to work for someone that I didn't like.
That's too funny. Oh man, that's too funny. But Frank, this presentation here, it's about your VA business. I don't know if you want to just plug some of your stuff first. So what do you recall? I know it was I think it was about 2 years ago. This one, or was it 22? I think it was spring of 22.
Well, I mean, it's a great way to help people grow their business. I mean, you can only put so many hours into the day. So what you do is you hire other people to help you. And what we do is we found people in different parts of the world that are great at what they do, and they can help others.
That's awesome. And so, me personally, I was in another podcast this morning, and then on that made me late for the property management meeting that was just before this, and that's why I'm wearing the wrong hat, and I'm going to fix that while everybody's doing this here. So that's really, really exciting having you here. But let me start sharing this screen like that, and here we go. So it's this one, and I'm sharing the audio. This is from the VIP site at the Academy Presents. This subscription, I think it's one of the best deals out there as far as real estate education goes, because you get all of the recordings of all of these different summits, including this one of Frank and Pedro. And I'm a complete tease. You can probably see on my screen, maybe if you get out your microscope, that it's an hour-long presentation. But we only have 45 minutes, and I've already used up 4 of them. But let's get started with this presentation. Frank Padalano and Pedro Montesino. Let's do it.
Hey guys, it's Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and we're on day 3. Holy cow. So much information and just so many amazing people sharing their heart, their soul, their experiences, and their knowledge with us. And so we need to just be thankful of everyone that you've seen, be thankful of people that you've still got to see, and just know that these are amazing people. And I hope you get the opportunity to know them one-on-one, because I have gotten to, and it's pretty amazing and awesome. So today is kind of our niche markets and things that aren't directly generally correlated with multifamily or real estate investing. So what we're gonna be talking about now is virtual assistants. If you haven't used one yet, you're probably going to be giving it a lot of thought after this. And if you have used a virtual assistant, then you already know the amazingness that can happen from that. So I'm going to let Frank and Pedro introduce themselves, and then we'll get into all the questions that I have personally, and hopefully I answer some of yours as well.
Hi, Frank Padovano. I have my own podcast called The Cash Flow Kings, and I was a full-time school teacher for about 17 years. And over time, I started to buy more and more real estate. And now I own a bunch of multis in a couple states, and I help out with syndications. I'm in 3 deals as a general partner, and I'm in about 10 as a limited partner. And one way I've been able to grow is through using virtual assistants.
Nice. My name is Pedro Montesino. I'm Frank's business partner, and I'm also a Keller Williams agent here in Punta Cana. I've leveraged virtual assistants because I didn't want to become enslaved to my business. The whole reason that I started a business was to be financially free. But then after I got some financial freedom, I needed time freedom, right? So we've been able to leverage systems, documenting each position, et cetera, and finding reliable people to man those positions so I could basically replace myself. So virtual assistants for me is key because it allows me to make more money, but it also allows me to live much better. So I don't know if Frank, you want me to go into my personal experience with virtual assistants, or
Sure.
Could you add something in particular? So I'm 31. I started trying to do business since I was like 18, but I've had virtual assistants since I was like 23, right? First virtual assistant I had was a customer service virtual assistant that took calls, provided quotes, etc. For a translation business that I currently still have. I've been running for 10 years. I know I'm a little scatterbrained in regards to getting my presentation started a little bit, but what I want to let you guys know essentially is that I own multiple online businesses, and what's helped me build a business and then delegate it and then focus on another income stream is because I'm able to delegate, procedurize, and hire virtual assistants to run those businesses, right? I think that there is a big difference between a business owner and a business operator. I look at it like football. Like you have the QB on the field, you have the manager on the sideline, and then you have the team owner up in the box drinking champagne, right? So when you start your business, you're going to be the QB on the field, and then eventually you get enough personnel where you're just managing things. But with the cash flowing businesses that we have, it's always been a goal not to be a cog in the processes of that business. One, the outputs of the business end up being better. And two, I end up making much more money because my efforts are not tied directly to how much time I spend on a business, right? So Frank and I have a Real Agent Helper, realestatehelper.com. And we started that virtual assistant company because of needs that we had for our own businesses. As you know, you're dealing with people, and anytime you hire anyone, the hiring process can be difficult to find the correct person for whatever situation or whatever position you want to fill, dealing with turnover. And so finding reliable people is very important. I've had employees that are virtual assistants that have been working with me for 8 years consecutively, right? So I think that many people don't have virtual assistants, and actually a lot of people don't need virtual assistants. I think only the people that want to build genuine businesses need virtual assistants, and the people who are cash flowing. We get clients all the time that are realtors that need help scheduling their appointments. We get clients that just do deals as investors and want an accounting virtual assistant to do underwriting because they have their whole procedure in place of how they analyze deals. I think that anything that you need done can be done by a virtual assistant except showing up in person, especially now in 2022 where everything's online. Angel, do you have any particular questions in regards to virtual assistants? I know that you haven't.
That sounds like a great spot for a segue, because Pedro was talking about online business and making it all work. That's essentially what we're doing, and all this stuff is not free. Hosting all of these summit recordings is not free, all this different things, and we depend on different sponsors like Real Agent Helper and also our gold sponsor, Sponsor Cloud, to stay online. So here's a very bubbly Angel Williams talking about Sponsor Cloud for 1 minute.
Hey guys, it's Angel, and we are super excited to announce our newest gold sponsors, Sponsor Cloud. If you're wondering what Sponsor Cloud is the one-stop shop for sponsors to automate, to delegate, to execute every aspect of their syndication projects, from affordable PPM generation to investor relationship management to fund administration and compliance, exclusive capital raising networking events. Plus, for the REI Rocks community, they're going to offer free migration and customer success services when switching from another provider. That's like a $2,000 value. So contact Sponsor Cloud, contact them today and see how much time and money you can save. You can visit them at sponsorcloud.io/contact and make sure you let them know that you're part of the REI Rocks community, because these sponsors are the reason why we are able to continue offering affordable and low cost, no cost education, summits, information, knowledge, experiences, all of the things that we're able to find and bring to y'all. It happens because we have sponsors like Sponsor Cloud. So check them out, see how they can help you out. And Sponsor Cloud, thank you.
That's really awesome. It also made me realize that I probably should have waited until that went on to switch to the REI Rocks hat, but I did that earlier. But I just want to remind anybody else, if you do want to be on part of the next summit that's happening, when's the next summit again? I always forget the dates. So,
September 20th, 21st, and 22nd.
Yeah, September. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. So if you want to be involved in that, make sure you reach out. You can start out in the comments and we'll find you from there. But if you also want some more syndicator eyeballs, I just want to remind you that this space could be yours. Again, this is the REI Rocks Review. We're here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, all that kind of exciting stuff. And we're here reviewing Frank and Pedro's presentation. Let's continue.
Worked with on one as of yet, but I'm sure you've heard of them. Maybe you had any questions regarding that.
Okay, so this is probably my number one issue, and I'm sure that there are plenty of other people out there that have the same issue. And I'm not saying that like everybody's scatterbrained crazy like I am, but I don't have a lot of systems. I kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and I put out a lot of fires as they come up. I'm not very good at making to-do lists and getting stuff done. Now my husband can make a to-do list and just go check, 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 just right on down that thing, regardless of whether he hates it or not. If I don't like it, I'm going to put it off, or I'm not going to do it at all. Yeah, and I'm a big time procrastinator. So how in the world could I ever like how I don't know what I do, because it's so sporadic and all over the place. How would I be able to show somebody what I do when I don't even know what I do?
All right. So it sounds exactly like me. And then on top of that, procrastinator and lazy sometimes. So I'm telling you that
you're my soul animal.
Listen, I've gotten, like when I was younger, before I started my own business, I would get fired from basically any job that I had 6 months later because I would stop learning anything new and then the job would just get boring, right? So how does that go with our type of personality, right? So the first thing you do is, if you want to grow, you have to have systems in place. You don't need to sit down and be like, oh, do this, then the third. Your first virtual assistant will document whatever process that you're teaching him or her. So their first task is to document their training. So if you're training a customer service person because you're a realtor, you show them how to use MLS, you show them, your buyer's list, et cetera, how to hard properties, all that stuff where you're screen sharing with her and showing her how to enter the clients in maybe Pipedrive or in the CRM. They're supposed to document that for you. Then it does two things. First, it verifies the information that you covered with that person. So you know if it's not covered in the document, maybe you didn't cover that information. If you did cover the information, it's a test for the VA to see how thorough she is or how good she's been listening, right? So if the VA can correctly document the whole training, then now you have something to go by. If the VA doesn't follow the training appropriately, you can always go, hey, go to page 5 in the customer service manual you made. Doesn't it say here that this is the template, the email template that we need to use for the clients based on this particular situation? Oh, yes, sir, I did. So why exactly did you use the other one? Because you know, so you can keep the VA accountable also when she documents the procedure. Then it makes it easier later on, because when you bring in a new VA, let's say the first VA is doing great, you want to promote her to do something else because she's awesome. When the next VA comes in, you can just send her the manual and say, hey, study this. So the onboarding process is a lot easier. So every job that I've ever gotten.
I think that's just a brilliant idea, because one thing I'm aware of from coming from, a specialized space in CRMs is a lot of people, especially once they're already doing the job, they're not going to want to document how to do it. because they feel like you're taking their expertise, you're systematizing it, and it's like, okay, well, now I don't need you anymore. I'll just go to the highest bidder instead. I think that's a really smart system thing. Angel?
Yeah, so I was going to add to that. So the cool thing too about having that set up. So our first VA, she was amazing. She created a manual, and then because she knew she was leaving, she was able to train her replacement. And I don't know if that's the way it always works, Frank, or if that was special just for me because I'm awesome. But it was amazing, and it really made a smooth transition for when Nair left and Danica came on. And so there wasn't any downtime really.
I would say that it happens more than average, but not all the time. Sometimes it's just emergencies or people just quit out of the blue, just like a regular job you have here. At the same point, most virtual assistants, they want to help you and they want to see you succeed. Even if they're moving on to other things, they still want to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say like Nair still follows that. Like she and I still follow up with one another. Like, how are you doing? Because she came to the States to be an au pair. And so we still chat and she lets me know what's going on with her. And she asks about the kids because like she helps with everything, but she was helping me. And so she got to see school pictures of the kids. She got to hear about the issues that were going on. She read the emails from the school when somebody was getting in trouble. Like she became a part of our team and our family. And so it's, I was always scared before because I was afraid to do it, especially with someone that wasn't in the US. But it has been amazing. And I don't know how I did it before because it's so much easier now.
Originally, you brought her in as social media support, but I think that quickly switched to administrative assistance and basically became your second in command in so many ways. And we know because, hey, a lot of entrepreneurs are very scatterbrained. Virtual assistants help you focus.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's really beautiful, and I love what you were saying there, Angel, about the trust part, because I learned about the existence of virtual assistants, and Frank might be amused by this, but when I was at web.com, when we'd say virtual assistant, we'd really mean a shopping cart admin. And that is really stretching the definition of a virtual assistant, but that's going back to like 2010. So I do think that it's a pretty interesting thing, and it is very scary to say, yeah, sure, here's access to all the credit card information of every person who's ever ordered from me. If that doesn't terrify you, I don't know what will.
Well, you don't have to give access to everything. You can absolutely use LastPass, and let me tell you, 2 weeks into having a VA, Nair had access to my Sam's Club account, my Imperfect Foods, my Misfit Markets. She would be like, do you need anything from Sam's this week? Yes, I do. My girls need cheese puffs. And she would come back and say, okay, they'll be there on Wednesday.
That's so funny.
I gave her access to everything.
Dan, to give you an example of how things are different, my main VA, she has a bachelor's degree in English teaching. Mm-hmm. We had another virtual assistant that unfortunately left us because they just got accepted to go take their master's degree in Canada. You know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. But the reason I brought it up in the first place was, I was talking to literally thousands of different entrepreneurs, and a huge proportion of them were using virtual assistants. And one thing I had my ears out for were occasions of people being ripped off. People who misused that trust that had been placed with them, and it didn't really happen. If anything, the only horror stories that I'd end up hearing would be web designers who, if an invoice wasn't paid in a timely manner, they might do something like take down their website, but that was not something that virtual assistants were doing. It was people based in North America who were doing stuff like that. So I think the thing I want to really emphasize then is that people are far more trustworthy in this industry than I would have anticipated, for what it's worth anyway. But
and I think Frank and Pedro, they do a really good job of using VAs in countries where they really truly have a desire to do their job well and to help the people that they are employed by. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're not going to quiet quit on you. they're not gonna do the bare minimum. They genuinely want to help, and it's been really amazing.
And once you get rid of that commute, like your quality of life improves so much in so many ways. Sure, it's not for everybody. Some people thrive on that water cooler conversation that isn't quite as appropriate if you're working remotely, but it really is something. But let's continue with the presentation. This is the REI Rocks review. We always review content from the REI Rocks Summit. I see that I haven't had any triangles on my face, and that always bugs me. If you want to get more of this content, you can scan this code that's on your screen right now, or visit the URL at the bottom, the academypresents.com/VIP. It'll give you a little introduction on what's there, and the prices are going up because inflation is really costing us. These servers, as we put hours and hours, hundreds of hours of content are on there, and we're going to have to raise these prices. So make sure that you get involved on this price as soon as possible. It's a fantastic way to learn, because the summit guests, they're not just coaches who are plugging their course and leaving out vital details that keep you from getting involved in this. These are people who are actually doing deals. They're actually doing what they're talking about. And that way they're including all the stuff that they really want to know. So make sure you check that out. But let's continue.
Whether it was at CVS or whether it was at Lowe's, or, when I was in high school, I used to work at Hollister, every single one had an employee manual, So it's not something you need to sit down beforehand. You're already paying these people. You might as well make them work to make the manual for you.
Wow.
So that's the first part, right? You were going to say something, Frank?
Yeah, I was going to pause and talk about like different types of VAs.
Yeah, sure.
If it's a good time. So I would say that for a while, we had like 5 different types of VAs, but I think we've narrowed it down to 3 major types of VAs that people need in the real estate game.
Yeah.
Technically, there's a 4th one, but we don't hire for that. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So the first one that we hire for, the most common, is what I call an admin assistant, a secretary. What do they mostly do? They're there to answer calls, to do clerical work for you, calendar, email management, maybe some online research, stuff like that. I'll give you an example. We have, I have a full-time property manager that I know, and he manages about 600 or 700 units, apartments. He doesn't own them, he manages them. And his full-time secretary is one of our virtual assistants. So anytime that there's somebody that has like a complaint that the toilet doesn't flush, or anytime you have a new client that wants to talk to him, she's like the first screener. And then if it's something very basic that can be handled, she's the one that sends an email routing it to the repair team. And it allows, what's really nice about it, it allows the owner of the company, the property manager, who is worth $100 an hour. It allows you to have someone at a less expensive pay use their time to help route things for them. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one. A second major way in which people use VAs is for social media support. So we have a real estate agent that we know that does a lot of pictures and does a lot of video, and he's all over social media through his VAs. Okay. He's recording content, or he's paying someone else to record content, but the VAs are the ones that are actually out there releasing the content, making sure there's follow-up on all the social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and more. Okay. And by the way, he's also a bilingual agent. So he hired one of our bilingual virtual assistants. Perfect English, perfect Spanish, nothing to worry about. It's a great relationship for everyone involved. One of the big things with VAs is win-win. So, the VA wants a good job. Usually they're getting paid better through virtual assistants than they would be in their home location. And it's still, because of different countries, it's still a discount compared to anything you'd be able to hire locally American to be able to do the work.
Yeah.
Okay. So the third major way, this is one of our newest ways actually, is especially since I'm a syndicator and we know a lot of syndicators, more and more of the syndicators are using VAs for accounting, bookkeeping, and underwriting. More and more of them. So I'm not saying we have people from different countries that have a bachelor's or even a master's degree in accounting. So obviously you're going to have to train them on what your systems might be, or what specific things you're looking for in underwriting. But after you've done some basic training, we all know that right now finding real estate deals is very much a needle in a haystack approach. So they might be able to narrow it down. They might look at 40 deals in a week for underwriting, and then you only have to look at 3. Okay, because they've already narrowed out a lot of the deals that, when I say deals, let's call them opportunities that are not deals. So Angel, I'm sure you've experienced that quite a lot. I think we talked about that a few minutes ago. So that's the 3 major ways in which people use our virtual assistants. Now, there is a 4th way, and I don't recommend it, and I'll tell you exactly why as well. A lot of people that don't have a good background in doing it and are sick of it or something else want to use VAs for cold calling. Now, there's a number of reasons why I'm not a fan of that. Number one, I feel that the ability to talk to someone on the phone, especially for a wholesaler, is their greatest asset. Okay, that is what you are making hundreds of dollars an hour being able to do, is being able to talk to a person, negotiate with them. Yeah, you're going to make a schedule and meet them in person, but we just haven't been able to work out that with VAs. I consider it to be a specialized skill set. Okay, we have, our average VA is quite good at a lot of things, but that aspect of cold calling is specialized. And it would take a lot more money, in my opinion, to throw at someone to make it for what they're worth.
Yeah,
I love that you said that, because you know, like, so my own VA agency, I got very specific in sticking with CRM and web development and that sort of thing. And when I was hired to be in charge of some sort of cold calling system, and they're saying, let's get some VAs, get people who are compensated based on their success, you know, commission based, that sort of thing. That was the thing that scared me. I'm going like, you're designing a bottleneck. Specifically, it's the fact that if you've got somebody who's that good at that piece of the business, they're going to find out that, hey, I can do this for myself and succeed way more. And then you're out of a VA. You're at, so I really like the fact that you're avoiding it. Now, of those 4 different classes, has that changed in the last year or two there, Frank, or is it still exactly those same 3 with that point there?
Yeah, no, I would still consider that the main 3 would be admin assistants in order. We have some of our clients that use 20 VAs full time, and out of those 20, about 15 of them are admin assistants. They have about 3 that are social media support, and they have 2 that are bookkeepers. And that's just because they're running multiple syndications. They got people that are reviewing the numbers all the time, stuff like that. One of my own, so in the past year, since that was recorded, one of my own personal friends, who's a syndicator, uses one of our VAs full time for the underwriting side. And it's pretty cool. They took a class together to learn it, and now she does all the beginner stuff to get it all set up. And he doesn't have to look at it until she gives the thumbs up. The numbers work to at least move to the next level.
I love it. And of course, you know, Jason, his forte is underwriting, and we've been talking about how to really make that distinction between when you talk to an accountant or you get a virtual assistant, somebody who's really skilled at underwriting, and then versus what it is that Jason does that's different, which I think it's business plan development and execution is what's included in underwriting when Jason does it. He's started doing some coaching. I'm really excited to see the great results that his students have been pulling off. But I got some triangles to put on my face real quick. Who wants to say a thing or two about what Jason has on offer? Jason, obviously you're prime, but Angel's already unmuted, so you're gonna have to wait for her first.
Well, no, I didn't know if he was going to say anything, so I just unmuted. I'm used to talking.
Right? It's both of us. I don't know if he's going to come out with a, yeah, I think that was pretty good, and then just stop. So Jason, you unmuted. What do you got?
Yeah, I think that was pretty good. No. So if you scan this QR code, it goes to my underwriting services, which will help you with your underwriting. I can go over your model to see if there's any mistakes or any assumptions, or just a second set of eyes to give you.
Oh, we had a pause in Jason's audio there. I know that his connection's been a bit finicky, but
which is
there you go. Now you're
Plus.
back. Oh. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you broke up and froze, and now you're back. But
yeah, my computer's been acting up all morning, so
it's no fun. It's no fun. Well, I know one thing is, like, if you go to an accountant, I don't know if an accountant would be mentally prepared to say, all right, well, cap rate expansion should be this much each year. I don't know if that's something that they offer, but I sincerely doubt it.
Well, a lot of accountants don't even want to look at a cost seg report because they've not done it. So, like, when Jason's doing the underwriting stuff, he's got the whole program set out. He can put in the T12 and the rent rolls. Like, he can input it all. There's a summary page. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's a lot of numbers, so that gets a little scary. Okay, Sean. Well, if he wasn't jamming up, this wouldn't be a problem.
Right. I think it's probably Sean's fault.
But Jason really wants you to learn how to underwrite and understand why things are doing what they're doing. So like, I can tell you numbers, but they're just numbers to me. They don't have any actual like meaning. But when Jason is teaching someone how to underwrite, he is helping you learn the meanings of the numbers and why they're moving the way they are. And so he really cares about making sure that his students are learning what they're doing so that they can have a successful future in the syndication space or in multifamily.
To bust on Jason for a second with a Sean joke, one of the things we test our VAs for many things, and one of them is definitely bandwidth speed, to make sure that they can handle being halfway around the world and to be able to effectively work with clients, and not just the clients, but also the customers of the clients if necessary as well. You know, one of the cool things, I'm not sure if it's in this video, is that we've created our own English test in order to English and grammar to make sure that the virtual assistants are properly talking to and texting and writing in ways that Americans are used to.
So,
Well,
so
and
you
I'll
can
say
find
this-
the most. Yeah, I was going to say you can find the most goodest grammarers.
No, so what I was going to say is this is not common, but right now the VA that we have is amazing at copy. That is not normal. But I am loving every minute of it because the emails she makes, the way she creates some of the posts where I just kind of go in and I'm like, this is amazing. Because she like takes the thoughts that I've given and the ideas and creates this beautiful post. And I'm just like, your words are, she just has a really awesome way about putting the words together. And I'm just really glad that we have her.
Awesome. So let's continue with this presentation from Frank Paolano and Pedro Montesino on virtual assistants for your real estate business. Let's do it.
A lot of those people would also work maybe commission based, but we focus more on general virtual assistants, like you had said, whether it's accounting, customer service, admins, social media management, etc. So Angel, going back to what you were saying before about you being lazy, scatterbrained, procrastinator, that's all up my alley, right? The whole reason I have virtual assistants is because I love cash flow in my businesses and not having to do jack squat, right? Now, it wasn't always like that. You have, how I see it is that, you run your lap on the track and then you get to pass the baton, right? So there's things I'm not good at. A couple of years ago, I got audited by the IRS, and then I had 2 whole years that I needed to find all my receipts. I needed to basically look for everything, and I had a deadline for the meeting that they gave me, and I would just look at my computer and be like, oh, I would do like 20 minutes of like accounting type work, and I want to shoot myself in the face. So I said, okay. Eventually, I was just like, I had virtual assistants for everything else, and then one thing clicked. It was like, idiot, why don't you hire a virtual assistant for accounting, right? And then he killed it. Like literally, what would have taken me months and months to do, the guy knocked it out for me, in like 3 weeks, but he's also working full time, 8 hours a day on that stuff. So everything that I'm not good at, for example, I like computers and all that jazz, but I know I needed a mobile app for one of the businesses that we have. We hired a web developer.
Hey, Frank, you say you have an awesome story here, and I like live stories, so go for it.
Yeah, so number one, what's really awesome is that we have our own office in India for the web development that Pedro's going to talk about. But I want to really give a shout out to our bookkeeper in India. So we own a small hotel in Punta Cana, and our manager was stealing from us. And, we're busy. We have a lot of different businesses going on, everything else. We're not always paying attention directly to the books, especially in an all cash business. So our bookkeeper from India actually spotted errors on how much money was in the account, and he's the one that found that our manager was actually stealing the money. It probably would have taken us another 6 months to find out. He was able to find out within 2 weeks, and that was the awesome thing about having a full-time bookkeeper when you're running. I have 10 different LLCs. So I'm not always looking at the books on every single one every single day, but that's part of his job.
Wow, fantastic. That really is a great story. And I guess the other thing I need to let everybody in the audience know about is how to meet more people in commercial real estate. So I'll take a second and mention Marvelous Mondays. Angel, I think you're the best one to tell everybody about why they should join Marvelous Mondays, because it's completely free, and free is good.
Yeah, there's times when you're going to hear you get what you pay for. This is an exception to that rule. Marvelous Mondays has been happening for over 2.5 years. We meet every Monday at noon Eastern. We meet rain, snow, birthdays, travels, holidays. It doesn't matter. We are always there. So it's noon every Monday, and we start our week out marvelously with about 25 to 40 other people. There are seasoned syndicators. There are, aspiring syndicators, new syndicators. There's investors in other areas that aren't investing in multifamily. Maybe they're investing in residential or in industrial. And there's people that are there that they're just passive investors. So it is just a really great group of people, and we're super laid back, and we would love to have you join us.
That's a great way of putting it. And if you're always consuming content online, you'll hear people say no, like, and trust, no, like, and trust, no, like, and trust. If you want people to do business with you, they got to know who you are. They got to kind of like you, but they definitely have to trust you. And that is one of the best ways to make that first hurdle. If you are just present for the conversations, you bring in those important points. If you save somebody on a deal, you got a friend for life. It's as simple as that. It's like, oh, did you check this out? It's like, oh, they got the right kind of plumbing or the right kind of breakers or whatever it is. It's really fantastic stuff. So there you go. And thanks for the encouragement there in the private chat there, Frank. But let's continue with this presentation on VAs.
Hired a web developer. Oh, I need bookkeeping. Hired a bookkeeper. Oh, I need social media manager. I'll hire a social media manager. And then it's much cheaper than anything I'd be able to find in the United States because the salaries are much higher in America. So it's like a win-win. I get everything done. I'm able to make an organizational chart of my business, and everything that needs to get done is a position, And then maybe I don't have money at the time, or I didn't have money at the time to fill that position, but I always knew when I made my organizational chart that was a position that would need to get filled. And then maybe you do something that may require 3 different people to do, right? But eventually you get to a point where you have all those people in place. And it's a thing of beauty to look down at your organization through your organizational chart and have the system function, and then just see money hitting your account, and you didn't do anything. You didn't take the calls. You didn't manage any of the deals, the projects. You didn't do the accounting to verify that the money was being sent correctly. When I used to work on my own, more business meant more work. So subconsciously, I was telling God, please send me more money, more opportunity. But then when I got more of it, I'm like, shit, I have more things to do, Yeah. But when you have a system in place, it doesn't really matter. You get payments, and then you're just like, oh, and then you do nothing, and then the client's super happy. But obviously, that's the end result. We work ourselves towards that, but I don't think it's something way far out, oh, that's totally impossible, especially because a virtual assistant, it's like $8 an hour, something like that, Frank?
So we have part-time and full-time, and they're between $8 and $10 an hour.
So you need to really analyze how much is your time really worth. If you just started.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
So the summits we do twice a year.
I guess caught that, I thought that was live Angel, not recorded Angel. It's like, oh, okay.
I personally reach out to all speakers, and I text everybody, and I set up the Calendly. I send out the Calendly. I do the reschedules, or I let them do the reschedules. I log on. I make sure everybody gets logged on. And when we were doing them live, I would run the Zoom, and Jason would be on the warning calls. Hey, you're on in 10 minutes. Hey, you're on in 5 minutes. Where are you? And I'm just thinking about all the hours that, I love doing it because I love talking to people. So I don't mind it, but sometimes we were at a funeral this weekend, and I was still on the way there and on the way back trying to send stuff to people and organize schedules and make sure that the podcasts that I'm recording for are outside of when I'm recording for my own stuff on pre-records. And it gets a little stressful. It's a lot stressful. I don't like the stressful part of it. And I'm just sitting here thinking, for $10 an hour, somebody else can deal with all of the yucky stuff that I don't like.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff I don't like, and I've good people that are good at that. My personality, personally, other people may be different. I can visualize how the whole business is going to work. I can do the work in the beginning, but I kind of need to replace myself, But
for $75 a day, I can have somebody else do all the stuff I don't want to do.
But I think if it's full time, I'll tell you right now.
Well, 8 times 8 is 64. I was bumping.
Divided by 4, 40. It's $8.75 an hour full time. It's $8.75 an hour, and they'll be bilingual. They'll speak Spanish and English. They'll have a perfect internet connection. They can call anywhere in the United States. They log into my Gmail. They work on Excel sheets, within Gmail. Basically, I run my whole business. I even have virtual assistants that hire other virtual assistants. Like I don't even, I'm just telling you what's real, So the thing is, but to do that, you need to do it first. It's like the business owner goes in first, figures out everything that needs to be done, and then tells the virtual assistant, she documents it, and then she reached that level. Based on my experience all these years working with virtual assistants, is the value added you have as a business owner is directing other people's labor more profitably than they would on their own, right? So your value added is telling them what they need to do because it's going to be profitable for you when you end the deal, right? But so far, I've had virtual assistants that perfectly can do exactly the job that I assign them, but they're not as good about growing the business. But growing the business is my job. Okay, making executive decisions, right? So I see it, and it's not cruel in any way.
I think the idea that we're bumping around here is arbitrage, which there are lots of different types of it, right? One would be like, for example, with borrowing money, you borrow at like 5%. If you can make 8%, then you've got that 3% delta. That's arbitrage. And in this case, you're muted, by the way, Angel, because I see that you're.
Dang it.
Yeah.
So I was going to say too, is like thinking back to when I was personally reaching out to everybody, and I still personally reach out to a lot of people, and then I'm like, okay, let me know your preferred email so that my assistant can get the ball rolling or get the process started. And like Nair created this whole Google sheet for the podcast. Like, what can you talk about? Give us some background info. Like, it's this whole sheet. And then with the questions were added to the Calendly for summit speakers, like all of that is handled for me now. And I can still reach out to people, but it's not me making sure that the scheduling is right and the calendar link was sent and this is sent and this is sent and this doesn't work out. Let me go add availability into Calendly. Let me go do this. Let me do this. I don't have to stress out with all of that part of it. It's still stressful because it's a big event, but the amount that has been able to be handed off to somebody else she's amazing at it. And honestly, I would say she is better at those rescheduling emails than I am, because I still get double booked. We've got 10 different calendars, I mean, things still get double booked. And the way she can put together an email, it's like, hey, we didn't realize this was unforeseen. Can we move you 15 minutes? And she's saying what we need to happen, but it's super nice. Like, people don't get angry with her, and it's a buffer too. So I can be like, this is a rough day. Can we move this person? And she'll just take care of it. And that's been incredibly helpful. And I sit back and wonder how we did it before with just us.
Right. And the point I was making was about when it comes down to dollars and cents, because, like some people's time is more difficult to quantify. It's easier to just put like a ballpark number on what you think your value is worth. Usually you should, go up a little bit more than you think. So I'm going to throw an idea of like $100 an hour, $150, $200 an hour. If you're talking about that arbitrage idea, it's like, well, how many $100 hours can you put in a week if you are cutting out those bits of your week, giving it to somebody who's being paid $8, $8.75 an hour? That's one of the real tricks. And it's not just, making margin, that I ran into in web development, funnel design, all that sort of thing. Because like one problem I'd run into would be, like maybe I'd want to hire somebody who charges like $125 an hour, but here I am only charging like $60 an hour. I'm going back a fair piece here, right? Well, the way you make that work is through just changing the number of hours. It's like, okay, well, this person bills like 2 hours, but if I went to somebody who was paid $20 an hour to take them like 6 or 8 hours instead, it would come out in the wash. You do the math that way. But yeah, all I wanted to emphasize is anybody who's thinking of dollars and cents and thinking about, should I hire a VA, you should be thinking about how much extra you can make by not doing those things that you don't like to do or are not very profitable. Anybody else have anything? Well, actually, it looks like we're coming up on time anyway, so it's time for the doggy bag. So the takeaways from this presentation, any final thoughts? Maybe Jason, you were away for a little bit. Did you want to kick things off?
Can you hear me now? Am I
Yep. Yep. We're okay.
breaking up or anything? So,
No. You're not breaking up with me.
all right. So, no, like you said, arbitrage. You can, but just trading your time, you can do more high value stuff and outsource your low value time to other people. So,
So maybe Angel, you're unmuted. I guess you've really said it's like this has absolutely been a game changer for you. It's like you started your first Nair was like what, like early last year, was it?
April 22, I think.
Yeah.
I think we talked her into it right after this interview.
I think it was pretty close. I think she started in April of 22, because I'll go back on WhatsApp and look at when the first group chat was created.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked at it. That's the only reason why I'm thinking it was April.
Well,
but
I
no,
think I was actually in Texas with you, like the week that you started with it.
probably.
And you're like, I'm never going to give her my email password. And the next day she's like, I gave it to her. And she's already cleaned up like 10,000 emails.
Yes,
so
I
funny.
am
Yeah.
that person that does not, I don't delete any emails at all, period. But I also don't read them. So there were like 12,000 emails or some nonsense. And she went through them all and categorized them and put them in folders and just amazingness.
Yeah, I remember when that was going down too, because I remember you talking about your different security concerns, and yeah, it's really worth the jump. But that's the time we have today. Frank, I don't know if you have anything else to add. You didn't get a chance to mention Cash Flow Kings. That's your podcast, right?
Yes, I'm not worried about that at all. What we're doing right now is we're helping others by, if they need to squeeze more time into your day, you get a VA. You know, ask me any questions you want anytime. If you don't have my contact information directly, Dan, Jason, and Angel can reach out at any time.
Yeah, it looks like Sean Griffith is over here saying sign me up. So whoop whoop.
Exactly. There you go. And I'm sure the check's in the mail. That's good stuff. So this has been the REI Rocks review. We review these summit presentations, these master classes, these roundtables, all these different discussions on what it takes to be a commercial real estate syndicator, being involved in this entire business. And there's a lot more to it than you'd originally think. You know, there's a mindset component, there's the actual deal finding component, there's the operations components, all these different things. All sorts of them benefit greatly from having a VA, but we're here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We really appreciate the fact that you spent this time with us, and we'll be here again with another presentation next week. That's all I got.
Bye, guys.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for coming. See ya.
yeah, everybody.